Okay, in trading, in trading, uh, there's at least five different characters. Okay, there are at least five different characters, and I was gonna write a little children's book with these three primary characters of trading. Okay, two others are others are the positive and the negative side of the angel and the demon. Right. So there will be the angel and a demon, the two characters, and then there'll be three characters, which are the bull, the bear, and the badger. Okay, and the reason why I use the badger is because the badger is flat. Okay, it's flat. That's why in trading there are three things that occurs with price action. The price action shows three different things. Okay. Now I'm going into the details of recognizing what the current market condition is. Okay. So I've been looking at Al Brooks for quite a while. And so what he's doing is literally describing the market. Okay. So it's wonderful that Brett Steenbacher, the psychiatrist, said that trading is very similar to psychology because he listens first before he makes his recommendation, right? He listens first, then he makes his recommendation. Okay, two things go hand in hand. And so what I noticed about Al Brooks is that he is essentially peeling away the layers of knowledge about trading. Okay, I was wondering what he was doing, and I couldn't understand it. But he's talking about something that is describing the market. Okay, he's describing the market. He's telling me what the market is. He's vividly describing the nature, the character of, see, this Catholic deacon uh, uh, that used to be my spiritual director, and he helps me out time and time, right? And he talks about this. He says he loves words and he loves the character of words. Okay, he does the character of words because the character of words define what the word is, but the definition of that word has so many permutations. He's also a cook, and so a flavor is not just a flavor. It is a permutation of its essence in its description about what it is, and based on certain situations, will become a certain description and certain enhancement to a certain area of application, right? And so, in a setting where a corned beef is made, the spices that are used, when they're applied manually and somebody's walking through it, the spices are so pungent and powerful, it enters into the nostrils and causes the person to sneeze. Okay, that's the first and primary effect of that spice. But when it's embedded and when it's cooked and it is absorbed with the mixture with the oil, it becomes a totally transformative flavor of the meat that's being used. And that's why it's called a corned beef. It has a unique flavor of it. So, what I noticed about the description of trading is that there has to be a description about these characters of trading, which is the first one is the bull, the second part is the bear, okay, and the third part is the badger. So within these markets, there are both the bear and a bull, and the badger living inside of these characters, right? So within a bull market, if I were to fractal it, there will be if I were to look at it in fractions, what it would do is there will be a part that's bearish. There will be a part that would be a badgery. Okay? There will be a badger. And there will be also a bullish, but generally speaking, the major trend is a bullish trend. Okay? So then the description, now I'm seeing it. I'm understanding what Al Brooks is talking about. And the $400 that I paid to learn what he's teaching is teaching me about uh, how to recognize, how to listen. So he's essentially teaching me the language of the market. Okay. So if I want to learn German, then I would have to study what German is. If I want to learn Spanish, then I would have to learn what Spanish is. But he's showing me that trading has a unique description. It has a unique character to it, and it is not as simple. It is diverse, and that's why he has a lot of videos. Okay, so then so I thought about this. So there's essentially like three main characters, but the angel and the demon are the ones that are essentially me taking part of it, trying to determine uh, are things that really are emotion and outside characters of of trading. It can be emotion, it could be certain situations, it could be the lack of, it could be a swaying of the emotions that tilts it from one way to the other side from seeing the reality. So I would equate the angels as being too exuberant, too excited about the particular outcome of a particular trade, and I'll be in cloud nine. And when that cloud nine hits, that emotion causes me to see the trading not the way it is, but falsely. Also, if I see it too negatively, using the devil analogy, I would see it as too pessimistic, and that would also be an emotional thing. It's not a logical thing, and it detracts me from making the right decisions too. Either way, it's going to be some sort of a emotional thing that is impacting the market, the decisions that I need to make in the market. And so when I look at it, what I failed to do was so what I failed to do in trading last night, which is a perfect example of sizing too big, not observing a few of the rules that I have, which are very, very important. Okay, try to use the stop loss. In order for me to use the stop loss, I would have to lower the size of it. Okay, I cannot be going big because that single trade, if I put the stop loss, it would essentially ruin my account, and I did it anyway because it was programmed into thinking that I was programmed into thinking that whatever I did, it's going to result in a positive gain, which essentially eroded my account. Okay, for the past 3 days, that's what I did, right? Uh, so, uh, so even if whatever's happening at the outside of the scope of my control, okay, the control that I have is what I'm going to do right now. Okay, I can choose I can choose to worry about what's happening outside, but I can't do that. It's out of my hands, okay? All I can do is say, "Hey, just ask," okay? But I have control over how I spend my time right now, okay? What I choose to do right now is to move closer and closer to trading, okay? To get to that consistency. So now that I've deciphered what the angel and the devil is, which are born of emotion. Those two are born. Those are born of emotion. These are emotion. Emotion causes the blinding of the situation, which causes me to not see properly. Okay, whatever the situation is. Okay. Then when I look at it, then I need to identify what the bull market is. I need to identify what the bear market is. I need to identify whether it's a badger market. Okay. So as soon as I define those, in many of the cases, apparently about 20% of the time, the market trends. So roughly about 20% of the time, it's either in a bull market or a bear market. Okay. Within a time frame. And then in most cases, what it would do is the price will settle down into a range bound situation. It's going to be range bound. And that range bound has a name. It's called a badger. Okay. It's the American badger. Okay. So when I look at a trade, I have to properly identify so that I know when I draw a I know see when something is trending up, I draw a resistance and support. But that resistance support is only valid for that time when the price is within that range, but it's trending. And so it's going to move out of that range. And so there's going to be a breakout. Okay, so the breakout trade is more valid. It's more probable in a trending environment, whether it's going to be a bear market or a bull market within the time frame. But when the price is range bound within that area, then when it hits that level, I'm essentially top ticking it. And that's the missing ingredient in my thinking yesterday. Okay, I made those three blunder trades, which essentially, had that been successful, I would have carried this ignorance past today, at least today. Okay, maybe maybe I would have figured it out maybe later on, but essentially what I would have done is carry that ignorance over and over and over. Okay, because because if the market is in agreement, whatever I did, it makes sense to me. Okay, then it moves forward. Okay, without me really understanding what the situation is. So that means that the first part of understanding is now 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 Dr. Steenberg. I'm making this point because he's making a really good point. I mean, he is making a very, very valid point. He's making a very, very valid point. The valid point is this, okay? You have to listen. That is, see, this guy gets paid for his customers, okay? But he made that statement. Maybe people don't understand it. If he said that to me like a year ago, I probably wouldn't have understood it. But he said it, and I saw that on one of these YouTube channels, and whoa, yo, that's right. That's right. That's true. That's very, very true. And so what that means is, in order for me to understand something, so if I see, this is very similar to like me coming to America, like 47 years ago, when I was 10 years old. 47 years ago, when I came to America, I didn't understand. I hear like words and stuff like that, but I didn't understand the meaning. I didn't understand the meaning, okay? And so, in order for me to understand the meaning, there has to be a process that I need to go through to identify the bull, the bear, and the badger. Once I identify the bull, bear, and the badger, then I can start to listen. Okay, that's what these lessons are. So that's what Al Brooks is teaching. He's teaching the alphabet of trading. Okay, the intricate details of trading. Okay, and so in order for me to listen and understand, I have to know what he's talking about. Okay, if I know what he's talking about, not all of them, all the information does not apply on a single candle. It does not. It only applies within a section of the lessons that he has. So in order for me to understand the totality of of what the market is saying, I have to understand the language. And he is teaching the language of trading. Okay? So first of all, these are the things that I need to do. Okay? So there's the bull, the bear, and the badger. And so what I need to do is understand the language of the market. Once I understand the language of the market, then when I look at the market, then I understand what the market is telling me. I'm listening. Listening requires me to understand. So you have this psychiatrist who says he's listening to his customers, but he will not be able to listen to his customers because if the person is not a psychiatrist like he is, then he is not able to understand what the customer is saying. Okay? But when a trained psychiatrist says that he's listening, then he's listening to the specifics of the psychology so that he can say that he's listening and he understands what he's listening. Then he's able to process what he's understanding and he's able to properly administer what the response is. Okay? What the solution is, right? So psychologically speaking, that's how it's done. So now I've alluded to the fact that Al Brooks is teaching me how to trade. Okay, he's essentially showing me the language of trading. He's essentially telling me the language of trading. Okay, so I'm learning the language of trading. So when I look at the chart, I should be able to recognize what the market is saying. Only then am I able to predict, extrapolate what the market is going to do based on what I see? Because what the data is showing me is a predictor of what the market is going to do. Okay? So here, one logical thinking is this: if something is in a range bound, generally what it's going to do is it's going to remain range bound. If something is in a trend, it's generally going to stay in range. And so that is a predictable factor in trading, right? So when I'm listening, I can look at that and say, okay, so the market is range bound. So chances are it's going to remain range bound until it is not. So I can trade based on the first step of understanding what the market is doing. Then it tells me that it is range bound. Okay, when it's range bound, I should have traded it range bound, but I traded it differently, and that caused me to lose 3 times. Okay, even though I said to myself, why are you doing this? How could you do this once? How could you do this twice? How could you do this 3 times in a matter of 30 minutes? It is as though my mind was vacant, and it truly was vacant. Okay, it truly was vacant. It is essentially vacant. It's vacancy. My eyes are awake. I'm talking. I'm walking around. I'm eating. I feel like I'm like my eyes are moving left and right and stuff like that. Right? But essentially, it's vacant. My mind is vacant because it's unable to see. It's being placed in Germany, and I speak no language of Germany. Okay? All intensive purposes, I'm essentially clueless to what they're saying. Okay? So a person could be saying something in Germany. There's a bus over here moving towards you, and you need to move out of the way, right? So that's trading, in essence. The bus is moving at a rate of 60 miles an hour, and it is headed towards you. So you need to move away. Okay? In German. But because I don't understand German, okay, I remain there. Okay? That's a pure example of that's a really good example of the importance of listening. But being able to understand how to listen, I have to understand the language first. Once I understand the language first, then I can decipher what is being said so that I can listen to. And then once I listen to, then I make my decision. I say, oh, I'll step to this side, okay, out of the path of the bus. Thank you very much. Okay? How do you say thank you in German, right? Danke. So that's the current situation, okay? Look, I said my piece, okay? I can't worry about what's going to happen around me. Okay, I said my piece, all right? I can only hope for the goodness of God to allow me to continue this, okay? Whatever happens, I can only do that, all right? So, danke. Dankashe. What is this dankashe? What is that? Oh, it's thank you very much. Dankeschön, okay? Dankeschön. That's what it means. Thank you very much. Dankeschön. Danke is thank you, right? But Dankeschön is thank you very much, okay? That's what it means, all right? So now I'm getting the idea, okay? So when I create this little children's story, okay, it's going to have a bowl. Obviously, it's moving up, whether it's moving in a channel or parabolic. There's going to be a bear, which is parabolically down or parabolic down or channel down, okay? Then there's this there's this range bound situation, okay, whether it's a channel or Y channel or moving in a irregular manner, but is still in a channel, okay? So the market moves in three different ways. So the trading is different based on those three settings. Trading is different. Trading is very much different. So when the market is going down and I size up with max size when I'm going long, I'm gonna lose every time. It's for sure. It's written in the book, just like God, okay? Just as God has existed is and it is, okay? It's the truth, okay? All right? It's the truth. When so see it just never occurred to me. It's so logical and so simple and so right? If I go big when the market is going down long, then I'm going to lose every time. There's no other exception. There's no exception whatsoever. But when the market is going up and I short, I'm going to lose every time. No exception whatsoever. It happens all the time. And when I go long at the high point of a range bound situation, I'm going to lose every time because it's range bound. So based on how it is, I have to trade it. The market generally, the market has those three things at all times. It doesn't always go up. It doesn't always go down. It doesn't always go sideways. But it has a mixture of those three things. And so even if the market is bullish, it's going to have those elements in it. That's why, think about this. Okay, so I bought a dishwasher and at the cost of my knee and my ankle. And boy, and years of hard work. Now I'm an old man, and the only reason that I'm still alive is because of God. Okay, I try to thank the Catholic deacon for the job as a dishwasher, and he says, "Don't thank me, thank God." Okay, I could have been fired so many times. I could have been fired. Okay, I could have been fired just merely doing my work, okay? Just merely doing my work. I could have been fired, okay? You would have to be there to understand what I'm talking about in my footsteps, okay? Because there are very, very strong personalities there. And if I'm there just to work, it doesn't make them look good when I work hard, okay? It doesn't make them look good, okay? Because I'm working hard because I have an objective. I have something to prove, my innocence. Okay, I proved my innocence for the past 5.5 years. I have 4.5 more years, and I'll be completely innocent. Okay, I was innocent. I am innocent. I will be innocent. Okay, but that's how humanity is. Just look at the Democrats and the Republicans. See how they behave, right? So this senator, what's his name, Cannon or what his name is, he's asking Hegseth about the military and how expensive it is, right? And he says, "Oh, I am not your enemy." Are you sure? Have you seen the movie Aliens, where these aliens have these zappers and say, "We come in peace," and start zapping everybody, right? He looks just like them, right? See, just me saying that, I could be fired. I could be fired because I'm saying that. When I say that, it'll piss somebody off. It'll upset somebody, okay? I could have been fired. I could have been, wow. Right? Just give you an example. So, essentially, getting back to track, okay? Getting back to track, okay? Getting back to track is this, okay? Getting back to track is this, all right? Getting back to track is that yesterday, when I made that trade, I erased my understanding of the market. That got me to the point of accumulating 5.5 years of the good experience and totally reprogram my mind to be totally void of logical sense and true character of the proper trading. And when that happens, I'm trying to go long in a range-bound situation, I'm going to lose every time. I proved it 3 times after 5.5 years of trading. And I'm like screaming at myself. I'm cussing at myself. I'm like screaming, okay, at myself for doing that. But there was no need. There's always a logical situation, but I did it, okay? There's no need to do that. There's no need to scream because there's a logical reasoning. But I forget. I forget that there's a logical reasoning, and I'm hard on myself. So if I was an employer, okay? If I was an employer and I hired somebody new, and it takes me about a year or two. This is very similar to the owner, okay? Uh, the owner of the restaurant used to work as a sushi chef, okay? And so he's talking about how hard it takes more than a year to make rice properly. It takes more than a year, 1 year. You know, rice, you take the rice, you put some water in it, and you cook it. But apparently, now he's a chef, so he knows what he's talking about. But I'm not a chef. So in order to cook rice, you just put the rice, you put water, you cook it, right? But apparently, it's far more complicated than that. And so it takes more than a year to really get really good at making the sushi qualified rice, apparently, okay? And he's telling me he's talking to me about that, right? So I get so involved in that story and I forget what I'm talking about, okay? What I'm talking about. So the reality of trading is that there is essentially the proper way to trade, okay? Based on how I identify as, see, this is, wow. I This is something that I was I have to say to myself, I was so foolish. See, I was so busy doing something, okay? I thought I was getting closer and closer, but I was so far away. It's like, the reason why there's a cartoon strip where the writer, the writer has a fishing pole, a wooden stick with a string with a carrot that's attached to it. And so the character is sitting on top of the horse, and the horse is moving forward. But this is a very stubborn horse. And the reason why the person has a carrot in front of it is just outside the reach of the horse is for the horse to keep moving in that direction, because the horse thinks that the horse is getting closer and closer. But in reality, the horse is not even getting closer. It is the same distance. Okay? That has been what trading has for me. And I'm making actually a breakthrough right now. This is the point where it has become worthwhile. This is a psychologically, I've already made a breakthrough. Okay, this period of tranquility. Okay, sitting here, left to my own devices. Okay, left to my own devices, without intrusion from the external world, and reduced work hours, and reduced physical stress, and reduced physical mental stress, has allowed me to gain this respect for the market, this understanding of the market. Whereas when I was working as a dishwasher, working 6 nights a week, building muscles by having buffets, because the work was very hard. Okay, just to give an example, there used to be a rubber mat that used to be placed there. These are very heavy. These are like 50-pound mats that are there. Not just one. We're talking about 12 pieces. Okay, and so every night I would take that rubber mat, okay, and I would wash it through the dishwasher. Okay. Of course, I would change the water before I washed the dishes again, but that's 50 pounds, and I would lug that while it's wet and put it on the fence to dry for next morning, right? So I did that for years. Okay, years. They don't do that. The new dishwasher they don't do that. They don't make the dishwasher do that anymore. Okay, but I had to do that, and I was building up muscles. And while I was doing that, I was spending all the time trying to trade. Okay, I was trying to trade, and that place, because I had to survive. I was placed in this situation. Okay. They threatened me. Okay, with 50 years of prison time if I didn't agree. Okay, so I had to weigh what the situations. I could go through it, even if I were to, even if it wasn't, and somehow they got, somehow something happened. So anything can happen because they're paid to lie. These people are paid to lie. I am paid to tell the truth as an engineer. I'm paid. Okay? I don't get paid. If I tell a lie, I get fired when I'm an engineer. Okay? Engineers are paid to tell the truth, the absolute truth. The more truthful I am, more job security that I have. Truthful meaning like, okay, so the manager gives me a job and I do it. Okay? And I say, hey, I did it this way, this way, this way. That's the truth. But if I don't tell the truth, okay, and I didn't do those, there could be something happens. Like I didn't check for something. Okay? And I say something, well, it's done, but it's really not done. Then that's a limiting career kind of thing. But lawyers, they are paid to lie. They are paid to lie. They're literally paid. They get compensated. The better lie that they have, if it's the truth, then it's easier for them. But their job is to tell a lie, a convincing lie. They have to say something to surround it. Think about this. These people are defending convicted murderers, okay? Known convicted murderers. They have to tell a lie. Look at O.J. Simpson. They get paid very, very well, right? So that's what they do. That's their occupation. There's no problem with it. Politicians get paid to lie too, right? That's their job. There's no problem with that. That's their job. That's their occupation. They're paid to do their job, okay? That's what they do, right? That's what they do. That's them, okay? There's not, I mean, that's their occupation. I personally wouldn't do it, but that's what they do, right? When I say that's, there's this guy named Skelling or something. So he told Hillary Clinton that she's like, he cussed at her or something. And so Hillary Clinton put him in prison. So I could be in that situation, but I'm just telling the honest truth, okay? I'm just trying to become, I'm just trying to trade and be a day trader, okay? That's it. And whatever I say, I pray that if somebody hears it, I hope there's no meaning behind whatever it is. I'm just saying the truth. I'm saying it, okay? It's the truth. The way that I see it. I'm stupid, okay? I say these things, okay? But I have my right. I still have my First Amendment right, okay? I can say that, okay? So, it's currently almost 9 o'clock, okay? So then, yesterday, I made these 3 trades, but I was trying to, my mind was subconsciously thinking it's a breakout. When it's a breakout and it's range bound, it's a formula for loss 1, loss 2, loss 3. And no amount of screaming at myself or cussing at myself is going to change that. And it's going to happen again. It's going to happen. Okay, it's going to happen. When I lose the fact, when I try to cram that manual transmission without pressing the clutch, it's gonna mash gears. Okay, it's gonna mash. Okay, unless the gear is in the right position, I slam it in there just right. It's not gonna. It's always going to mash the gears. You have metal to metal just crashing and things like that. And most people who are novice traders are that way because they're unable. Okay? So there are 3 parts of trading. You have to know the language of trading. Then you have to apply the language of trading to recognize what the market is. And then you have to be able to take that information and extrapolate what's going to happen next. Okay? That's the stages of trading. The stages of trading that I completely did not even know. I knew a little bit about it, but I wasn't able to create a clear picture of the unique sectors of trading, okay? But now I recognize it. I'm about to break through. Okay? Maybe that's why I'm about to break through with this, okay? I'm literally about to break through in trading, okay? Maybe that's why there's some critical components that are swirling around me, trying to push me away, like a cartoon strip Up. When I have placed enough money to take on a vacation, something comes up to knock it down. Don't do that. God. Okay? What's best for me is to be left here so that I can finish this work. Okay? Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it. I'm about to get the heck out of here. I'm about to get the heck out. I was trying to figure out, okay, so I'm gonna start making money and money will be coming in. Now I'm gonna have more options. But right now I have no options. I have no options. This is a desperate situation, okay? This is a very, very desperate situation. I need this time. I need to be left alone. I need to do this, okay? Let me finish this job. I promise I'll be out of here. I'll tell you what. I'm very close. I'm really, I'm getting to see this. The content has been transformed, okay? My YouTube channel content has transformed now. This is something that I didn't really understand. I didn't understand when I was like thinking about money and things like that. I'm gonna get money. It's so close. All I have to see, I'm so close. It's like money's right there. So all I have to do is put the trade on and I get it. It does happen, even though I don't know it. It's like going into the slot machine. I put some money in. Every pull has a possibility of getting the jackpot. Every one of them. But until I understand something called the advantage player, okay? In blackjack, there's a thing called advantage player. There's also a thing called pro players, poker players. So when you sit down on a table and you look around, there are people who are very good at what they do, and in a moment, you can bluff a pro. It's possible. Okay, you can bluff the pro, but you won't be able to do that for a prolonged period of time because they are consistent in the way that they play the game of poker. And so in the end, they're going to take all your money, okay? Because you're a novice poker player, or you're a novice blackjack player, you're a novice slot machine player, or you're a novice day trader, okay? But once you break into that point where you understand and you establish a consistency and you realize what your contribution is, your physical mind and body contribution to trading, this language has been broken out, okay? It is exploding now, okay? My understanding of the market has exploded. Maybe that's why the devil is creeping in or something to interfere with this. Don't. God, I need to be left alone so that I can move forward with this, okay? All right? It's so silent. Okay, it's so silent. Okay? So essentially what I did was this. I know precisely what I did wrong yesterday. And I was screaming, but there was no need to scream. Here's what happened. Within that time period of gold, what it was doing is it trended down. Now is bouncing up and down in a range. But what I thought that green candle was a breakout. And I was thinking wrong. I read it wrong. I didn't read it wrong one time. I read it wrong twice. I read it 3 times within 30 minutes. Enough to breach the challenge. Okay? That's what I did. I know what I did. Okay? I was reading it incorrectly. That was my mistake. Okay? Like 3 days ago, it was very similar to that. It's very similar. It always stems from my inattentiveness. I was like focused on something else, and I wasn't able to properly assess the situation. I wasn't properly able to read the market. If I'm able to properly see what might happen, because it's basically a statistical probability. Okay. Gold could be doing this, and then oil prices would just go wham, and what it will do is it'll just spike down. Okay, I can't predict that. Because there could be some instance with a Strait of Hormuz. Something could happen there at that instant, but the news travel fast and enters into the market, and it will jar. It will create a instant change in the market. I can't predict that. I cannot predict it. Once it happens, I can say, oh, something like that must have happened. Okay? That's probably it. But I'm not sure. I don't know. But some event caused it. One thing I know is that an event caused that. Okay? But it is all related. Okay? Boy, there's absolute quietness right now. Okay? There's an absolute quietness. Okay? I told a trading buddy of mine, and it's true. It is true. Okay? Now the logic is sinking in. Logic is sinking in. But that logic could not sink in. The logic could not sink in. It's like closing my ears. It's like plugging my ears, closing my eyes, and plugging my nose, and then trying to listen to what the market is saying. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to. I'm not gonna be able to see anything when that happens. That's what I've been doing. That's what money does to you. The 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 human element has been habituated into the importance of money, and that habitation of that money creates a veil. It creates a thick, thick veil. It's like a very thick wall of lead. Okay, and nothing can penetrate through that. But it is essentially made by the self, and it can be removed. That's what I'm doing now. Okay, so there is in trading the bull, the bear, and the badger. Those are the commonalities of the market and price action. Once I properly identify each of those components, then trading is uniquely different based on my identification of that market window. Once I properly identify the market, then only then am I able to properly and statistically place a trade, okay, in interpretation of what could be, okay? Subconsciously, I'm scratching my nose here. Bingo. Okay, so there's this guy, about 5 years ago, I was washing dishes and I was doing the see when I was an engineer, I didn't have much to talk about. I go to work, I do my work, and I go home. That's it. Because essentially, engineering work, even if we had meetings, my contribution would be the area of my expertise, and then that will be conducted, and nothing essentially. But there's a human element into working in a fast food restaurant. Okay. And so there's this guy who graduated from high school. He was in high school when he was working there, and he was on the fryer. So there's 3 stations. There's a cook who makes the hamburgers and things like that, and then right next to him is the fryer. Okay, the fryer stands there in front of like these oil vats, heated at 350 degrees, and then he plunges like French fries and potato gems and battered mushrooms and battered zucchini and things like that, right? And sometimes corn dogs, right? And so the summer was over, and he has to go to college in Montana. Okay, and I told him, look, the secret word for me to cross over to profitability is the word called bingo, right? Bingo. Okay, I said that many times. Maybe this time it's true. Okay, bingo. Anyway, so this is something that I really didn't pinpoint to exactly because I was mired in Al Brooks, and I was scratching my head trying to figure out what is he saying? What is he saying? Why is he talking about all these things? Why is this section about why is he talking about gaps and stuff? Why is he talking about why is he talking about these things? Why is he talking about measure moves, and why is he talking about all these things? Why is he talking about that, right? I was scratching my head for years. I bought this program for like over 2 years ago, and I'm still scratching my head trying to figure out what he's talking about. But now it's starting to make sense. Now it's starting to make. He's describing the language of trading. He's describing I couldn't say that yesterday. I couldn't say it. I couldn't be sure of what I knew about what is trading, despite the fact that I've been watching it for 2 years. I didn't understand what he was talking about, but it is essentially. So anytime somebody's teaching something, see, this is awesome. See, this is the reason why I got C's in school, because I didn't even know what the objective of what the class is. I didn't even know what the. So if I got an A, that's by accident. Okay, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just did the work, and then I got an A. So there were some classes that I got A's in, right? But I just did it because that's what everybody else was doing, and so I got lucky, and sometimes I got A's. Okay, but generally speaking, I didn't know what the motivation was for that class. Okay, and so it reflected it in my grade. Okay, I didn't know. So in every so essentially at the top level of thinking is this, okay? So when somebody's teaching something, the objective of teaching is to provide a vocabulary, a language to the content that is being provided. Okay? Okay, that's the objective of that content. Okay? And usually it says that. At the beginning of it, it says, hey, we're going to be talking about this. But I look at that and I go, what does that mean? I don't know. What does that mean? I didn't know. This is honest God's truth, okay? It's not like a Governor Newsom, okay? I could be fired for saying that, okay? But Trump calls him Newscum, okay? But I could be fired for that, okay? Somebody might not like it. Somebody might get offended by that. And I'm a homeless guy. I'm easy to get rid of, okay? Nobody would miss me, right? But may God be so kind, okay, to keep me safe. I need this, okay? There's a very thin shell between my peace right now, and if I get discharged to the other side, it's an utter despair. It is a chasm. It's a Grand Canyon of despair and suffering, okay? And I pray God understands the situation that I'm in, okay? I pray God understand the situation that I'm in. Of course he does, okay? I pray that he understands, right? And I'm trying to be as less intrusive. I'm trying to create the less of an imprint while I'm here so that I can move forward with my business, okay? I need this peace right now, okay? And tranquility so that I can move forward, right? So essentially, I failed to understand what's yeah. So what I have to do is I have to understand that when I interact with something, what's the main objective of whatever that interaction is, okay? Okay, and when that interaction is conducted, then I can gauge whether my initial assumption is correct, and then afterwards, then I compare notes to see, okay, so the conversation took place, but what was the objective? Okay, so then objective, did I meet the objective? Was it okay? And things like that, so that I can reaffirm and I can so that it can benefit me. Okay, how is it going to benefit me in doing this, right? So then this is something that I really did not explore, and which I needed to explore, okay? Which is, if I'm to read the market, I'm gonna make it as like redundant as possible, man. I'm gonna be as brutally boring as possible. It's like Ferris Bueller's class. This economics teacher says is taking attendance, right? He's taking attendance. Okay, he's taking attendance, but classes normally at teenager years are very, very boring. Okay, because it all of it are the reason why it's so boring is because it's like so far distant. It's an adult content. It's like adult matter, and so it is very, very boring. It's very, very dry. A lot of definitions, a lot of concepts. Okay, and he's taking notes, and the voice is very, very boring too. But I need to make it like that as well. Okay, so so I'm looking at this situation. And essentially what I did yesterday, and I'm screaming at myself, I'm cussing at myself, I'm saying to myself, what did I do? What did I do? Okay? It's like in the movie, what did you do? There's a movie scene where the person says, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? I forget what the movie is. But yeah, it's like, what did you do? What did you do? Why did you do that? You just blew away $66. Why did you do that? Okay, why did you do that? It's all because I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. Simply put, I didn't know. And yet I was doing something even though I didn't know. I did something even though I didn't know. Okay? I did something even though I didn't know. All right? That's why. I did something even though I didn't know. That's been true all my life because I get into things and I'm not interested in it, even though it is imperative that I understand it, then I approach the situation not knowing. Okay? So it's 9 o'clock, 9:17, okay? And it's a lot of talk. It's a lot of talk, but these are concepts that was waiting for me to piece together. These are the concepts that I was waiting for me to piece together so that I can propel myself, move forward, okay, into new thinking, and then approach the market in a totally different manner. Whereas as I start to formulate new concepts into my consciousness, my way of trading changes. What I thought very lightly, okay, I began first of all, it's like, okay, so when I started looking at Al Brooks' market, Al Brooks relates the market to a very wise old man. Okay, when I first approached trading, there was no very old wise man. Okay, I read of somewhere a lot of books about mentioning about what the market is, and how it's complex and how difficult it is, and many people have different opinions about it, right? But I never approached the market as a very wise old man. I did not approach it. I didn't have that concept. I didn't have that concept. But he's taught me that truly, then I formed a respect for the market. I formed a respect for the market because what I was trying to do is use my money to make money from the market without understanding what the market is. And when I do that, then I lose. It's inevitable. It's obvious. Just like being a poker player, okay? The poker player is playing against a very very experienced individual who's a professional. I may be able to win one, okay, but generally speaking, by the end of the night, my bank account will be zero. That's how good they are because they know things that I don't know. So initially, what I started to do was gaining respect for the market. Okay, I gained respect. Then, as I started to trade for the past 5.5 years, I started to gain respect for psychology, the mind, because I just like yesterday, I was looking at it and I'm screaming at myself, cussing at myself, yelling at myself, even though it is purely born of ignorance. Okay, I'm innocent, and I'm even like blaming myself. I'm saying that I did it myself, but I'm innocent because I didn't know what I was doing. And yet I scream at myself. Okay, I scream at myself, yelling at myself, cussing at myself. How could I do that? Okay, but there's a logical reasoning behind it because I didn't know. I didn't know how the psychology plays in. Still didn't know. I didn't know how the market conditions plays into trading. Okay? I did not know. I don't know. Okay? I look like I know something, but I don't know. Okay? I don't know. That's why I lost. But now I see this is something that I should have discussed before, but I was like trying to understand it. It's like the reason why babies talk is because they're talking, they're exploring. Okay, they say goo goo gaga and things like that, and parents are so eager to hear what their true first word is, whether it's dada or mama or whatever it is. Okay, and figure out what kind of first sentence will be, right? Because they're exploring. Okay, it's rare unless the kid is at 5 years old reading the encyclopedia. That's rare. That's 1 in 8 billion or something like that, right? And so essentially, what I was trying to do, and this won't make any sense to many people. The people that I used to be will not understand this. Okay? People, me of last week will not understand this video. They'll click off after like few seconds. They think the title is interesting, they'll start listening, but it won't make any sense at all. Even if they think that it makes sense, it won't make any sense because they have to gain the experience and and they have to gain the experience in psychology and trading in order to put things together to understand. And even if people understand it, they already know, so they're not interested in this dialogue that I'm having with myself. Okay, so this is for future posterity. Okay, this is what I did. Okay, leaving a record of what I did. Okay, whether I start like making lots of money or not making money, at least my kids who are estranged, if they wanted to, they can look at it. If they're curious, okay? If they're curious, they'll look at it, okay? And they'll look at it, hopefully, all right? But a lot of the seconds and minutes won't mean much to them, okay? It's just my presence on here, all right? So ultimately, that's the current situation. So essentially there are sticking to the subject matter is this, okay? So essentially, and it's like a new discovery. It's like an uphill climb with something that's new right above ahead, and that's what trading is. I feel like I know what's. I would climb a little bit, and then I would see it, and I say, "Oh man, this is it." And then I'll climb a little bit more, and I say, "Oh my God, I was wrong. This is it." And I'll climb a little more, and I say to myself, "Oh, I was wrong. This is it." That's because there's content and trading that are so complex, and even if somebody says it, I don't understand it. Okay, just imagine this. This psychiatrist, who's a trading psychiatrist, says this single statement. He says, trading is just like psychology. And he says this: I'm paid to listen and then make a recommendation. Trading is just like psychology. I listen to the market and then I anticipate what's going to happen and make my trades based on what I anticipate. Trading is just like psychology. First, I have to be educated. First, I have to get a medical degree. Then I have to get a psychology degree. Okay? Once that's done, study Al Brooks, equivalent to studying Al Brooks. Okay? Then I listen to the market. I listen to the patient. And then, because I studied and I have the credentials to recognize the market of what it's saying, then I understand what the market is saying. So when I understand what the market is saying, then I can have a higher degree of probability that what I anticipate will happen more so than not. So yesterday was a prime example. I was expecting that the market is breaking out. But in reality, 3 times in a row, the market was saying it's in a trading range. And I failed to see it 3 times. And when I didn't see it 3 times, I just wasted my money. Okay? I now know the distinction, even though it was happening all this time. Like before I left Orlando, I went to the post office, and I got myself a pile of delivery boxes. Okay, because at that time the market was going up. It was going straight up. It was just going up. So whatever I did, I was making money. And back then, I was sending text messages to my kids. Okay, I was an engineer. Things were looking up. Everything was doing well. Okay, and I sent a picture of that the box, the post office box, uh, right, delivery boxes, because my intention was to get some cash after I pull it out, after I make my money in trading. I was gonna send it to them, okay, in cash, which is probably not a good idea, but I wanted to. So they asked me, "What is that for?" I said, "Well, it's for cash," but I never got to do it. I never got to do it. All things broke loose, and then I ended up in this situation. Okay, so why am I saying that? Okay, this is a little special message to my kids. I pray I survive to finish what I started out to do. And may God be so kind to be so merciful so that whatever mistakes that I've done, okay, what I've done, my my intention is sincere and innocent. Okay? Even if I rub it the wrong way and I make mistakes, I pray there is some generosity, okay, that is given to me so that I can finish this. Okay? Think about this. I'm here, I'm homeless. Everybody else here is like they're rich. Everybody's rich. They have their own business. Okay, they own conduct their business. Whether they're working for somebody, they get paid really well. I am a homeless guy who's living out of my car. To be honest, I can't sit here and sleep because you can't sleep. You can rest, but you can't sleep. This chair is so uncomfortable, you can't. I get sleep in my car. Okay, that's what I do. That's why I'm not here like when the New York market opens because I'm sleeping outside, not here. Okay. So uh, so that's that. Okay. So essentially, trading, trading is just like psychology. Trading is just like psychology. First, I have to be educated. Then I have to listen. Then I can make uh, prescriptions about this particular situation. Okay? Trading is just like psychology. You listen, then you prescribe.